Hello everyone, I am Dr. Ritesh, working as an assistant professor in Department of Physiology in AIIMS, New Delhi. In this session, we are going to discuss about the physiology of the renal system and regulation of blood volume and osmolality. So basically, I expect at the end of this session, you should able to enumerate different component of the nephron. You should able to justify importance of different type of nephron, signify the role of kidney in volume and osmolality regulation, explain the relation between volume and osmotic regulation. You should be able to describe different function of kidney. So first of all, we will discuss about the functions of the kidney. The primary function of kidney is to remove the water soluble waste products. Secondary function of the kidney is water and electrolyte balance. In acid, it has a very important role in acid base balance. It has important role in blood pressure regulation. It also produces vitamin D and it also produces erythropoietin. So first of all, we discuss about the gross anatomy of the kidney. Kidney is a reddish white bean shaped retroperitoneal organ situated in T12, both sides of the T12 and L1 vertebra column in posterior abdomen. For a normal average adult, dimension of kidney is 10 into 5 into 2.5 centimeter and weight of the average kidney is 150 gram. Renal sinus is the medial side of the kidney from which renal artery enters and renal veins and renal pelvis exit. Renal pelvis is the superior end of uterus formed by the major calyx, which is formed by the minor calyx. Minor calyx is the apex of the renal pyramid. Now we are going to discuss about the coronal section of the internal structure of the kidney. On coronal section, if you see, the internal structure of kidney is divided into two parts. First is the medulla, that is the inner structure of the kidney, and it is made of 4 to 14 triangular structure known as the renal pyramid. Apex of renal pyramid faces towards the renal pelvis and base faces towards the peripheral. Cortex is basically the outer structure, like I have said, of the kidney on the coronal section, and it is divided into three parts. First is the lobe of the kidney, part of cortex that surround the renal pyramid. Second is the renal column. Part of cortex lies between the renal pyramid and the cortical, and the third is the cortical arc or lobule. Part is the renal cortex lies between the pyramid and surface of kidney. And now we are going to discuss about the microscopic structure of the kidney. Microscopically, kidney composed of the nephrons, blood vessels and lymphatics. Nephrons is the functional unit of kidney responsible for the urine formation. On an average, 1 million nephrons are present in each kidney. Nephrons are further divided into renal corpuscle and tubules. Renal tubules contain different parts, that is proximal tubule, loop of Henle, thick ascending loop of Limb, distal convoluted tubule, and the proximal tubule is the 15 millimeter long and about 15 millimeter in diameter, and its wall is made of the single layer of the columnar epithelial cell, and it has an interdigitation with of the cells with each other, which unites the apical by the tight junction. The loop of Henle formed by the proximal tubule and blood flows into the loop of Henle which deeps into renal medulla. Each loop consists of descending and ascending limb. Wall of the descending limb and lower end of ascending limb are very thin, and therefore they called thin segment of loop of Henle. The thick segment of ascending limb after the ascending limb of loop of Henle return to cortex, it refers as a thick ascending segment of ascending limb. Because of its wall become much thicker and it reaches the glomerulus of the nephron and lies between afferent and efferent arteriole, and from which the tubules arose. The specialized cell in the thick ascending limb close it is very close to the afferent arteriole, is known as the macula densa. There is a modified cell in the the afferent arteriole adjacent to the macula densa, known as the juxtaglomerular cell. Macula densa, the near-bearing cell, Lessig cell, and the renal secreting juxtaglomerular cells form the juxtaglomerular apparatus. Now, the distal convoluted tubule, it basically start at macula densa and it is about 5 mm long. Its epithelium, it contains few microvilli and no distinct brush border. Collecting duct, it is about 20 mm long and it empties urine into pelvis of the kidney at the apex of the medullary pyramid. Its epithelial cells are two types: principal cell, that is P cell, and intercalated cell, that is I cell. P cell are predominating and tall and contains few organelles. The main function of P cell are sodium reabsorption and water reabsorption after ADH secretion. The I cell are very few and concerned with the acid secretion and bicarbonate transport. Now, there are basically different types of nephrons in the kidney. Nephrons are basically divided on the basis of the length of the loop, and the first of all it is two types, that is the cortical nephron. It is about 60 to 70% of the nephron that present superficially in the kidney. It basically present in the outer cortex, and the loop of Henle penetrates of this nephron penetrates very short distance in the medulla. Entire tubular system is surrounded by the extensive network of the juxtaglomerular nephrons and capillaries. Second is the juxtaglomerular nephrons, that is about 20 to 30% of the nephron. It is present in the deeper part of the cortex, and the loop of Henle is very long as compared to the cortical nephron, and it lies deep in the medulla, known as the juxtaglomerular nephrons. Juxtaglomerular nephrons are present in the inner cortex, and capillary network are present in juxtaglomerular nephron is also different from cortical nephron. It also follows the whole length of the long loop of Henle, but it is not extensive as cortical nephron, known as a vasa recta. Its long length helps to maintain concentration gradient in medulla, which provide capacity to form concentrating urine in normal as well as in adverse situations. Nephrons are further divided into the renal corpuscle and tubule, and the renal corpuscle is rounded structure, consists of two component glomerulus. It is a tuft of anastomosing arterioles in which through afferent arteriole blood comes in glomerulus and leaves through the efferent arteriole. Glomerulus capsule, it is a structure that surround the anastomosing arterioles. It has two layers: visceral layer, which is near to arteriole, and outer layer, which is parietal layer. Space between visceral and parietal layer is continuous as the lumen of renal tubules. Now, we are going to discuss about the ultrastructure of the renal glomerular membrane, which separates blood of the glomerular capillary from fluid present in Bowman's space. It is also known as the blood filter and the filtration barrier, and it has three major layers. First is the capillary epithelium. It contains pores with diameter of 70 to 90 nanometer and is freely permeable to small solutes like water and even small proteins. Second is the basement layer, and third is the Bowman's visceral epithelium. It is a thin layer of the Bowman's capsule formed by the specialized cell called podocyte. Podocyte have a interdigitation which interdigitates the basement membrane and form filtration sheet. Messenger cells that are present between the epithelial the capillary endothelial cell and basement membrane. They provide the structure support for the glomerulus capillaries, and they also secrete extracellular matrix, and they also have phagocytic activity. So, there is a specific apparatus known as the JG apparatus or juxtaglomerular apparatus. It is a basically specialized cell in the thick ascending limb close to the afferent arteriole, is known as the macula densa. There is a modified cell in afferent arteriole adjacent to macula densa known as the juxtaglomerular cells. Macula densa near Bayring Lessig cell and renin secreting juxtaglomerular cell forms the juxtaglomerular apparatus. If you see the ultrastructure of the nephron, you can find that there are different type of cells present in the different component of the nephron, that is basically the according to its function. In this slide we can see the basic process of the urine formation, that basically include filtration, deabsorption, secretion and excretion. Differential permeability of this nephrons for the different ion in the urine formation helps in the urine formation and maintaining the constant ionic concentration in the body in the normal situation as well as in the different physiological adverse situations. This is just an example how the reabsorption of sodium occur in the different segment of nephron. The sodium is the principal. Why we are discussing about sodium? Because it is the principal osmole in the extracellular fluid. As such, the total body content sodium and chloride is the primary anion determine the extracellular fluid volume. The most of the energy of the reabsorption of other solute is also routed through the concentration gradients of sodium. Now we have finished to the first part, that is the physiology of the renal system. Now we are going to discuss about the regulation of the blood volume and osmolarity. The overview of this part will be the first of all the what is effective circulatory volume, then the what are the effector pathway that maintains that regulates the plasma osmolarity, and osmoreceptor effector pathway. The body fluid in our body is maintained by the maintaining sodium balance. By the sodium is a major active solute in body followed by the water. Sodium balance is depending on the intake and output of sodium and it depends on the habit of individual, that is how much amount of salt is taken by the individual per day, and basically types of food, because different types of food contains sodium content differently. The sodium depends on the excretion of sodium is basically depends on the GFR, and sodium reabsorption which is depends on the aldosterone. Plasma osmolarity of the body depends on the net fluid balance in the body, which is net of intake and output of fluid. Intake of fluid is depending on the habit of individual and the sensation of thirst, whereas output depends on the volume of urine, which ultimately depend on the volume of fluid taken and release of ADH. So, first of all we will discuss about the regulation of blood volume. So, you can see in this slide the different component of the body fluid. On an average for 60 kg individual, total volume of fluid is about 60%, which is 42 liters, out of which the plasma volume is 3.5 liter. The plasma is the smallest component of the fluid component of the body, but the most precisely and accurately regulated compartment. This regulation is basically having a two types. Basically it is short term as well as long term. Though it is said that the plasma is regulated, but is effective circulatory volume which is regulated in the body. The effective circulatory volume is basically defined as a part of arterial blood system that effectively perfuse the tissue. It is the physiological volume which is effectively perfusing the tissue. It is mostly correlated with the extracellular fluid, but not always. It depends upon the total sodium content in body, not the sodium concentration in the body. It is very tightly regulated in body, and urinary excretion of sodium is the marker of effective circulatory volume. Any change in the effective circulatory volume is sensed by the volume receptor, and these volume receptors are basically two types: high pressure and low pressure receptor. And the 4-pellular pathway is the basically response of change in the effective circulatory volume, which include these 4 pathways are basically renal angiotensin aldosterone system, atrial natriuretic peptide, renal sympathetic autonomic system, antidiuretic hormone, and it basically effects the effects are basically produced by the kidney and blood vessel and heart, which produces effect in form of the renal sodium excretion and change in the blood pressure. Volume receptors are basically, like I have said, two types: low pressure receptor, which are the receptor which are present in low pressure area like in atria and pulmonary vasculature, and response is change in the effective circulatory volume. The high pressure volume receptors are the receptor which are present in high pressure area, like in basically present in carotid sinus, aortic sinus and juxtaglomerular apparatus in the kidney, and which basically responds to change in the effective circulatory volume. The RAS, renal angiotensin aldosterone system, fall in effective circulatory volume lead to release of renin from the juxtaglomerular apparatus, which converts angiotensin to angiotensinogen 1, and this angiotensin 1 is converted to angiotensinogen 2 by angiotensin converting enzyme in lung. Angiotensinogen 2 is one of the most potent vasoconstrictor in the human body. The angiotensin 2 lead to the release of aldosterone from the adrenal gland, and it also lead to constriction of renal afferent arteriole, and ultimately lead to decrease in sodium excretion by fall in GFR, which means decrease in volume and decrease in volume loss by the kidney. Renal sympathetic autonomic system, fall in the effective circulatory volume lead to activation of renal sympathetic system, which lead to constriction of afferent arteriole. It also increases tubular absorption of sodium and also lead to the activation of RAS, which is sodium excretion by the kidney. By all this mechanism, there is a natriuresis and water loss from the body to correct the volume loss. Antidiuretic hormone, low effective circulatory volume lead to release of ADH from the posterior pituitary. ADH have 3 actions. It leads to translocation of aquaporin channel in collecting duct, which lead to reabsorption of water. Second, it also reduces renal blood flow, and the other system is an atrial natriuretic peptide, which is released by the cardiomyocytes from the atria in response to increase in fluid volume in body and lead to the vasodilation of renal afferent arteriole and increases GFR, and it causes suppression of renal angiotensin aldosterone system, renal sympathetic system, and inhibits release of arginine vasopressin. By all this mechanism, it leads to natriuresis and water loss, forms body to correct the volume overload. Now coming to the applied aspect of the sodium balance, hypernatremia, that is basically increase in plasma volume more than 145 millimole per liter, can be seen in diarrhea, vomiting, nasogastric suction, burn, excessive sweating, osmotic diuretics, in diabetes mellitus and chronic kidney disease. Hyponatremia, that is fall in the sodium concentration less than 135. The first part of this session, all these systems are basically to maintain blood volume, which have been shown in this slide, and the activation of this 4-pellular pathway acts together to maintain the plasma volume and sodium and sodium excretion is regulated, and this is all to maintain the precise regulation of the effective circulatory volume. Change in the effective circulatory volume lead to activation of 4-pellular pathway, which maintain the effective arterial volume by maintaining the sodium concentration in the body. Now coming to the second part, plasma osmolality. So basically sodium balance, it is basically sodium balance and water balance. Body maintains plasma osmolarity in a narrow range about 280 to 300 milliosmol per kg of H2O. Precise maintenance of body osmolarity is very important because slight change in the osmolarity changes the volume of cell, which causes serious effect like 15% change in the plasma osmolarity lead to the serious CNS consequences, even death. As mentioned earlier, change in the total body water volume affects the plasma osmolarity. So basically all the regulatory mechanism related to the total body volume are responsible for maintaining plasma osmolarity. The total body water volume is controlled by intake, which is controlled by thirst, and output, which is controlled by kidney. Change in the plasma osmolarity activates osmoreceptor in the OVL2 and subfornical organ, which by ADH and thirst sensation maintain the water balance by kidney, and thirst ultimately these two affect the plasma osmolarity. Kidney is the most important mechanism by which it maintains osmolarity is ADH, that is antidiuretic hormone. The mechanism of antidiuretic hormone, you can see when the ADH is released, it comes and binds with the V2 receptor on apical side of tubule of the collecting duct and distal tubule. It activates cyclic AMP, which is a second messenger, lead to many protein phosphorylation and then translocation of aquaporin channel in luminal side of tubule. This aquaporin is normally it is already present in the vesicles, and the ADH increases the translocation in the luminal side. Cyclic AMP also lead to the translocation of new aquaporin channel, which lead to the reabsorption of water. It also increases the urea permeability to medullary collecting duct by increasing the expression of urea transport to its surface. It also increases sodium absorption to in ascending loop of Henle, which increases water absorption by the counter current multiplier. ADH is released in response to both change in osmolarity and blood volume, but its release is more sensitive to plasma osmolarity because only 1 to 2% change in osmolarity lead to the much more release of ADH as compared to blood volume change, which requires more than 10% loss. Thirst sensation, second is the thirst sensation. Thirst is affected by the change in the osmolarity or in the blood volume, which is sensed by the osmoreceptor and volume receptor respectively. Initial change in the osmolarity is sensed by the circumventricular organs like subfornical organ and organ vasculatum lamina terminalis. From there, median preoptic nucleus is activated, which gives signal to the higher integrated center, which produces thirst sensation and activates brainstem areas to which lead to the behavior activity related to the thirst sensation. For thirst, stimuli for the thirst is basically change in the blood volume or change in the osmolarity, and which produces different type of thirst like osmotic thirst. The coming to the applied aspect, essential hypernatremia or this and the second is the central neurogenic diabetes insipidus, nephrogenic diabetes insipidus, increase in the AVH metabolism. So coming to the summary, we have discussed different function of the kidney today. There are certain excretory as well as non-excretory function of the kidney. Non-excretory function of the kidney involves control of the blood volume and osmolarity, regulation of acid-base balance, blood pressure regulation, synthesis of the vitamin D, as well as production of erythropoietin. We have discussed the functional unit of kidney is nephron, and there are two types of nephron in the kidney, cortical and the juxtamedullary nephron. Plasma is the smallest component of the fluid component in the body, and it is most accurately regulated in the body. The effective circulatory volume is the physiological volume that effectively perfuse the body tissues, and the change in the effective circulatory volume lead to the activation of 4 parallel regulatory system, which involves renal angiotensin-aldosterone system, atrial natriuretic peptide, renal sympathetic autonomic system, and antidiuretic release of the antidiuretic hormone. So I hope you have learned about the functional anatomy of the kidney as well as its role in the regulation of body fluid and osmolarity. Thank you.